Today's card is Bat, and we are going to be going over perspective. Bats have a different perspective of the world than we do. I love giving little random animal facts whenever I do this, but I think it's really important to look at animals and look at people and how they might differ, you know? For bats, they're nocturnal animals, and so they, sleep at night. They sleep upside down. So their world is literally turned upside down when they go to sleep. And they use echolocation to communicate with each other and to see. They don't actually use their eyes very much. So that's a completely different perspective that we have a hard time even conceptualizing. It is so different from how we as humans live. I think what we're having to do right now is look at life in a new way. A lot of us are getting a gigantic wake-up call. I was saying that yesterday. Wake up is a message I keep getting. And I think a lot of us are getting that, even though we did have a lot of questionable ideas about our future in general, we were still in a place of comfort where things that were happening around the world felt totally separate from us. And it was just like, oh, well, I'm lucky that I live here. And then now we're in a time period where we're not very lucky to be living here. And it is waking everyone up to how regressive things have been for many years here and how it's been kind of the building blocks to get to the point where we are now, where we're seeing major regression. We're seeing underdevelopment at this point at a rapid pace. So for a lot of us, we're kind of waking up to the idea that we weren't as safe as we thought we were. You read about history and you're like, that can never happen here. That would never happen now. And then, we're seeing the repeats again of history. And it's just kind of like I keep on saying wake up call, but that's what it feels like. It feels like a slap to the face. It's like, wow. People like that still exist, but I mean, they have throughout history, right? We're not special just because we were born now, just because we were born in the golden age of technology or whatever. We're not immune to humanity. What this card also is telling us is to take some time to process what's going on. I know a lot of us are feeling super stuck to our phones, super consumed by news and media and things. And what we've kind of been uncovering about how a lot of our interactions online are actually not real, they're fabricated. So it's really important to not spend your time and effort arguing with people online or watching things that piss you off. Definitely look into the sources that you're looking at and really think about how it's impacting your life. That's not to say be toxic positive or anything like that. It is good to be informed, but also pick and choose who you're learning that from and not just random media scrolling. And don't argue with people online. There's a high chance that they might not even be real. So don't argue with them. Or that they even believe what they believe. They might be being paid literally to cause disruption and division. So don't spend your time arguing with them. I'm also getting something else from this card is learn something new. And what I got from that is read. Push other people to read and inform people about what you're reading. Read historical texts. Read stuff you want to read too, for sure. If you want to read fiction as well, do that. But read historical texts, read things that you see that you want to learn more about, even maybe things that you're afraid to learn more about. Look into them. Because if we continue down this path of book banning that we're going down, a lot of people are not going to know these things. So it's important to buy books, read books, rent books from the library. Definitely support your local library as much as you can. And read, learn, continue to protect education in that way. Because if we're getting to a point where education is getting defunded, books are being banned, information isn't being spread around, so people aren't going to know things. And we really that's the best way to protect our children and the next generation is to learn. So that's the perspective that we're coming with today. I have 4 of stars here. So we're dealing with at a huge level is people who are unwilling to share. There's a greed aspect of it. A lot of people I saw earlier today, a lot of people think that they're just one, really good paycheck away from becoming a millionaire, whenever they're really one bad paycheck away from homelessness. A lot of people don't realize where they are on that aspect. They don't want to tax the rich because if they were rich, they wouldn't want to be taxed, which is just, it's selfish, it's greedy. You should want to give back to other people. If people buy your product, you should celebrate your customers and celebrate your consumers. If people work for you and you're able to make a profit from it, you should celebrate them and give them, give it back. Give back to the people who have brought you where you are now. but we're dealing with a lot of greed, and we're dealing with people who see others as possessions as well. They don't see them as their own separate people with lives and desires and, you know, dreams and aspirations. They don't see them as that. They see it as an extension of them, as, you know, part of the machine. There's a lot of narcissism that we're dealing with at large. Something else I have here is Eight of Swords reversed. Usually when Eight of Swords is right side up, it usually symbolizes a prison that you're creating for yourself. So it being reversed tells me that a lot of you guys are pulling out of that. Maybe you had been putting yourself in some sort of like mental prison, or thinking that you can't do this or that or whatever, and you're breaking out of that. I think for a lot of us, it's coming from that awakening aspect. Like I had stopped doing spiritual work. I had been doing pretty good with it for a while. And I stopped doing spiritual work to pursue my dream of becoming an indie author. And I put everything I had into it, everything. And I kept getting pushback. And I still wanted to keep going for it. So I kept pushing for it. And I was like, this is what I'm meant to be. This is what I want to do. And it is still what I want to do. But the reason I'm coming back to spiritual work is because I'm realizing how essential it is to get these messages out and to speak and to talk and to just get the knowledge that I do have in my brain out to other people in a way that is tangible, in a way that's helpful, in a way that aligns with spirit, as in the messages that come to me when I'm looking at the cards. And so that's sort of like, that's been like an acceptance for me. And for a lot of you guys, you have your own purposes as well. Your own part that you play in liberation, your own part that you play in freedom, in like pursuing freedom, breaking cycles, like breaking generational cycles within your family, breaking cycles within your own race or ethnicity. Like if you have ancestry that has done horrible things, kind of unpacking that and working through that in the shadow work. That's what they say a lot of this is coming from too, is just like generational trauma, generational curses. You know, people have ancestors that did horrific things, and instead of like sitting with that and working through that to create a better world, people are like, well, let's just keep it going. Let's keep the status quo. My ancestors did it, I'm gonna do it, you know? And they're not like really thinking about other people as people, like I said, right? Possessions and being greedy and selfish. Like that's really what it comes down to. I have here the Star. Whenever this came out, I was pretty happy about that because that usually means hope. So continue to have hope in what's happening. I think that's a huge part of humanity as well, is even though we continue to meet these really difficult aspects of life repeatedly, people still have hope and people still fight for something. And I think that's what we need to not release. We need to not stop fighting for the liberation of people, for freedom, for all of those things. Like we still need to keep fighting for it. We only have had like a very brief period of life where people have been able to make so much progress, and then we're seeing this regression and everything just kind of be dismantled. So it's important to continue to have hope, to continue to keep traveling on. When I think of the Star card, I think of the North Star and how often people use that as a direction whenever they're lost. You know what I mean? We have biblical stories about this, about following the North Star. So I think that's really what we need to remember, is like continuing to fight for that hopeful future. And I mean, I mean that as in fighting as well. I don't mean that as in like just, you know, being asleep and just going with emotions. Like let's fight for it. Let's fight for a future for our children. And I have Six of Stars reversed here. And once again, what we're dealing with is an uneven distribution of funds, financial hardship, and self-seeking. So once again, that is what we've been dealing with. I don't really need to go on with that one for very long because we've already kind of talked about it, right? We've already talked about how that is disrupting our lives, you know? So that's just another reminder that this is really what's going on. And I have 10 of Swords reversed. This has popped up almost every day that I've done readings in the last week, either upright or reversed, but it being reversed right here tells us what's done is done. There's this relief at the end of the situation. So I think for a lot of us, the fact that we are waking up and we are deciding we want to do something different, that there's going to be some sort of relief with that. I think the more that people stand up, we'll see it. There's still going to be a lot of anger and division and things that are happening. But as people continue to come together, I think that the internet is not a good representation of what is actually happening. So if you can, go to your town hall meetings, go talk to people around you, do whatever it is that you need to do for community building purposes, and see what's actually going on, see what people actually think. I'm also afraid of talking to people and finding out that they think crazy things, but we're going to see that a lot more on the internet than we're going to actually see probably in our local community. So don't give up on people. All right, that is the end of this reading. I'm running out of time here, so if you enjoyed it, please like, share, comment, whatever, and you can buy me a cup of coffee if you want to support me. All right, bye.